Good evening, my fellow friends, my fellow neighbors, and my fellow shining stars. The next trolley stop is here. The next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to an all-new episode, an all-new edition of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. Welcome to episode number 95 as the countdown to Christmas continues here at Empowered Publicity, and also the countdown to our 100th episode, which is airing in just a few short weeks' time. Thank you so much for spending some time with us wherever you are and wherever you may be. Shortly after 7 o'clock East Coast time for all of our friends and neighbors out on the East Coast. Shortly after 4 o'clock Pacific time for all of our friends and neighbors here in San Diego and on the West Coast. Monday evening, November the 9th. And yes, Halloween is now in the rearview mirror. We're just a couple of weeks away from Thanksgiving, so it's safe to say that with a few short weeks, with less than a few short weeks, until the official start of the holiday season, we've now begun to see and to hear our favorite Yuletide classics on TV and on radio, while also seeing homes and stores decorated to celebrate the season. I was just at Home Depot and saw these beautiful, beautiful, amazing Christmas trees just a few days on back. So needless to say, and insert your Perry Como or Fred Astaire or Bing Crosby impersonation here, in the air, there's a feeling of Christmas. But however, as the result of the pandemic, many people across the country and around the world are feeling sad and empty and even burnt out, simply wishing for the holidays to be all over and done with. But thanks to two of our newest neighbors and one new heartfelt, heart-centered children's book, no matter how young you are or how old you feel, you can reconnect to the heart of the holiday season and truly experience Christmas for the first time. It's going to be a magical episode of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, the brand new release courtesy of our friends and neighbors at MacKids Books. They did a wonderful job putting this together. You can head on over to the official websites of our featured guests in the comments below. For Jonathan Stutzman and for Heather Fox, their official websites, their social media platforms will have everything provided for you in the comments below. Again, the brand new release, Santa Baby, it is now available. And we're going to share an interesting story on how this interview happened to come about. Even though there's not any events or, large public gatherings happen, we do credit our friends and neighbors at the Tucson Festival of Books from what seems like 10 lifetimes ago to have everything come full circle tonight and this week on episode number 95 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Award-winning children's author Jonathan Stutzman and his wife, award-winning illustrator Heather Fox, joining us as our featured guests here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. You guys are just bringing so much heart into the program tonight and so much heart and love into the hearts and minds and souls of children, parents, and families across the country and around the world. We're very grateful to have you guys on board with us here this week. How are things with you out in Pennsylvania?
Really good, yeah, and thank you for that lovely introduction. We are all ready for Christmas over here.
Yeah, we just started putting up our decorations. We are the type of people that are right after Halloween. We kind of dive into the Christmas music, not fully, but off and on. If we're driving in the car, the radio pops on, and we started putting up our decorations. So we're getting in the spirit and starting to feel a Christmas cheer right now. But right now in Pennsylvania, it's like 70 degrees. So it doesn't quite feel like Christmas. Probably feels a little more like San Diego out where you are.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just actually, I caught a little bit of the Buffalo Bills Seattle Seahawks game the other day, and I noticed that it was, it was the warmest Buffalo Bills home game in November, December, maybe of all time, so to speak. So the fact that the weather's like San Diego where you are, it's definitely great. But it's very true that the Christmas season, for many of us, it's either here or people are starting to feel it, so to speak. But as I had alluded to in the beginning of our time together tonight, it's a little bit of a different holiday season this year. Children might not necessarily be spending time with their extended families. There are, parents who have lost their jobs. There are families who have lost loved ones, so to speak. And it seems like, and I know that this work that you guys, created with Santa Baby, to kind of share with our listeners and viewers, children's books don't just happen overnight. There's there's a birthing process from the creation of the book to the writing to the illustrating. It seems that maybe Santa in your book kind of knew something was up. Maybe he didn't necessarily know that COVID was happening, but I love some of the illustrations right at the beginning of the book, because Santa's just tired. He says, "I've had it. I'm not in the Christmas spirit." And so it's, Santa kind of knows things before we do. He's got ESP, he's got great intuition. Could you take our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, back to the original idea on how this particular book came to be, and really why you feel it's so important to be able to share this message for children, parents, and families during the holiday season?
Yeah, definitely. I think the way Heather and I, we've made a bunch of books together, and we have a blast doing that. And the way we kind of work is I'll have an initial idea, and then I'll send that idea over to Heather. I'll tell her, and then what will you do after that?
Yeah, so, we generally work after we have the title first. So for this book, we were inspired by the Christmas song by Eartha Kitt, right?
Yeah.
Santa Baby. So we just sort of worked from that idea, and I know Jonathan was inspired by that. He's like, what if Santa, got turned into a baby, or what if Santa was a baby? And so generally when he comes up with some kind of idea, I go into character sketches. So we had the title, and then I started drawing some adorable little Santa babies, which then propels you into the rest of the story writing mode.
Yeah, so when I get sketches from Heather, I'll feel more inspired to pursue that specific story. So for this one, I had that initial idea of the title and this idea that Santa was going to turn into a baby. So I had to then come up with what is the conflict? What is Santa's kind of driving motivation for the story? And like you said, at the beginning of the story, he's worn down, he's feeling exhausted, he's overwhelmed with all his responsibilities. So in that sense, I wanted to kind of Santa to take the role of the parent and the adult, because a lot of times I think even if we're very excited for Christmas, we still have a lot more responsibilities that maybe we didn't have when we were children. And whether that's if we have children now, that we want to provide that cheer for them for the holiday season, or work responsibilities, or physical pain that we're feeling our age, which I have definitely been feeling my age. I may look young right now, but my knee has been acting up, my back aches sometimes, so I'm definitely feeling that age. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our lives, as you know, that can sometimes hinder that joy that we are used to having as children when that holiday season comes. So I was like, oh, that's a great way to transition to get to that initial idea of me figuring out a way to get Santa into that baby form where a lot of the humor and conflict comes. So the core message of the story should be tied to that too. So I went with that, and Santa feeling worn down, and of course at the end finding that joy again. But we'll get to that part. But yeah, I think Santa kind of symbolizes all of us as adults, and a lot of picture books don't normally deal with an adult perspective in books. A lot of times it's focused on the child, but we felt with Santa, generally, of course, he becomes a child for a lot of the books, so there's that. But we thought Santa is generally so well known for children that they would still connect with that, and they would still be able to figure out that story, because the message of the book is universal for all ages. So.
Agreed. And I think that, Santa has the right idea to a certain extent, where he says, I want to be young again. He wants to be able to find the fountain of youth. And it's interesting because, one of the great things that I love about children's books is that you can line up, 10 different children, 10 different kids, you can line up 10 different families, and each one of them will have their own interpretation of the book. And it's kind of like at the very beginning, it's like Santa wants to find this fountain of youth, and not realizing that being connected to the heart of each child is that magical elixir. I think it was back in grammar school, I remember that Ponce de Leon, I think he was the explorer who found the fountain of youth, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like that Santa Claus found it in the form of this book, but it's a very sweet and adorable adventure, because when we think of Santa Claus, we think of, old man, jolly belly, ho, 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 Mrs. Claus is right beside him. And to the best of my knowledge, between like books or movies, I've never really seen Santa in like a baby form, right? So this is something that it's a matter of like suspending disbelief a little, because we all know Santa as this specific sort of image, but it definitely seems like there was a lot of light, a lot of love, a lot of heart, a lot of joy. Heather, could you talk to us about putting the illustrations together? Because this is something that it's just like, I can just imagine that your inner child alone was like, heck yeah, like Santa Claus is a baby. I think that I can rock that. I think that I can do that. Could you talk to our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, about specifically putting the illustrations and the story arc together to really share this in such a very beautiful and aligned way for your readers?
Yeah. So this book in particular was pretty different from all of the other books that we had done together so far. So this one, just with being a holiday book, it was just going to be a lot more atmospheric. And I wanted to capture that mood, and that holly jolly festive mood doesn't really exist in our other books. So that was something that I really had to dive into. So, it was great when I was doing all of this artwork, like a few months ago, in my own little Christmas world. I had all of my Christmas book inspirations, and I was watching Christmas movies and looking at all this amazing, wonderful Christmas art just to try and get those vibes that they captured so that I could put that in this book. And so a little bit about my art process is I work primarily on my iPad Pro. So that's a little bit different. I know with a lot of the classic Christmas books, they're more done in a traditional medium. So that was something that I also sort of pushed myself with this book, in trying to get sort of that feeling, but working in my comfortable media that I work in. So I work on my iPad. I use this app called Procreate, and I pretty much do the whole entire process on the iPad. My sketches, the final art, and I will show you one of my biggest challenges in this book, and you might have some of this art too, was capturing sort of the sparkly, twinkly aspects of Christmas. So one of the scenes that sort of really tripped me up a little bit was the transition scene of Santa transforming into a baby. I'm like, how do I do that? So that was one thing that I really struggled with. Here we are, but I will show you a little bit. It was a fun challenge to do, and I think that I overcame it a little bit. So, and I also worked a lot more with textures and different kinds of brushes. So, which is also a struggle because, when you work digitally, you don't want things to always look digital. You want things to have that texture and that life to it. So I really experimented. It all came together in this little book form.
Once again, we encourage our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, you can support Jonathan and Heather, the wonderful and amazing work that they're doing, especially with Santa Baby, by purchasing your official copy, which you can purchase at Jonathan's official website, jonathanstutzman.com. You can head on over to amazon.com. One of the many ways that you can support children's authors and illustrators such as Jonathan and Heather, is by leaving a 5-star review on Amazon if you feel guided to do so. Again, we're joined by Jonathan Stutzman and Heather Fox, award-winning author and illustrator, and they look so cute together. We're gonna talk about the creation process when you're married together and how that is able to bring such another level of creation into one's work together. So again, episode number 95 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight series. I think that Heather kind of beat you to the punch a little bit, Jonathan, is that whenever we create something, there's excitement, there's joy, there's passion, there's love. But there can also be challenges. Sometimes people will call them challenges, difficulties, obstacles, problems, stressors, troubles, worries. You can kind of just like label that 2020. If you wanted to kind of label all those words together, you can just label it as 2020 and then just close the door kind of thing. And we are all human. It's important that, 2020 has taught us a lot about patience and going with the flow. You've obviously created many successful books to this particular point in time. Was there a specific challenge or difficulty that you experienced, Jonathan, in terms of, bringing this particular message to life? And if so, what were some of the things that helped you to move through to the other side of those challenges and difficulties?
Yeah, every book, I think, brings its own set of challenges, and a lot of times it's just my own mind that is the biggest hurdle for me to get over, whether that's being perfectionistic or feeling like what I'm writing is going to fail. That's something I struggle with a lot, like when I'm sitting down to work on something. I don't want to almost get to the end of it. I don't want to turn it in because I'm just, it's going to go out there to like thousands of people in the world. It's going to, once the final thing's done, I feel like you can pick it up in the store in multiple places in the world, and there's no way for me to change it. And that's very scary for me as a creator. And because one, you're putting yourself out there in story form as a creator. It's a little bit of yourself, but then also not having any more say in it. Once I know I'm going to grow and I'm going to look back and maybe become a better writer, hopefully, and I'll be like, oh, I wish I would have done that or that or that. So that's one of my biggest hurdles, just pushing through and getting to the end so that I can just have a finished product. And I think that's important for creators to push to the end and get to that finish line and not hold yourself back with that fear. But as far as this story, definitely trying to balance the humor with the heart, because I feel like Christmas stories in general, especially for children, they are very message-based. And I love a good message when it's well done and it's not just hitting you over the head. Sometimes I guess we need those types of messages because we're pretty stubborn as people, but I think a creator, you want to have that balance. I love Pixar films. Heather loves Pixar films too, and I always love how they have their emotional payoffs. It always seems like the perfect ending. You're like, oh yeah, this had to end like this. But it's very, very hard to find that perfect ending. So that was, I think, the biggest challenge. Like, how do we get Santa to realize this whole time that he wanted to be young, but like you said, his biggest desire was actually kind of close to that truth, but it wasn't exactly as he expected it. And I think that's very true to life. A lot of our goals or wants or desires, they're good in themselves, but they're not exactly what we need as people. And trying to have Santa find that in the end, that youthful belief and hope that is that's what he needed the whole time, and reconnecting with kind of seeing the world in a childlike faith or manner. That's what he needed, and he kind of knew that at the beginning of the story. He wanted to be young again. He wanted to capture that youthful excitement that he once knew, but it was a little bit in a selfish regard, rather than what he finds it in the selflessness. And that's what the Christmas message is, very much a giving message. And so just trying to find that the right ending to the story is very difficult. And I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I'm sure myself now, compared to when I wrote it about a year and a half ago, I probably can nitpick, but I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I like the way I figured out the ending. But yeah, it just takes a lot of mess ups and redos and trying again. So that's kind of the writing process. And I think for you as an artist, that's the same kind of process.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that, you know, this is a very important message that's especially needed as of right now, because, you know, whether a person classifies themselves as religious or spiritual, or they worship at the altar of Santa Claus. I would love to meet someone, by the way, who worships at the altar of Santa Claus. That would be like totally adorable on so many levels in and of itself. But getting back to about the creation aspect, depending upon if an author is published or self-published, sometimes they know who's illustrating their book. Sometimes it's just like, you know, kind of praying and be like, all right, whoever's coming in as my illustrator, I hope understands what it is that I'm trying to share, kind of thing. You guys have the distinct pleasure and honor of working together in all facets of life. And I think this is so rewarding to see, the fact that you guys are joining your hearts together to give back, to be of service, and you're following your passions. And, you know, if you walk up to the average Joe on the street over the past 8 months and be like, now's the time to follow your passion and, you know, follow your heart and all of that stuff, you know, someone may respond with a few choice words that are not, you know, kid friendly here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, right? Could you talk to us about the experience of working together, and that you're able to support one another? You know, if there is someone who's just a children's author, and if they necessarily don't have that support system, or if they're a children's illustrator, they don't have that support system. Could you share with us as well too, Jonathan, I'll start off with you on this, how your work has expanded since you met Heather? And Heather, if you can then kind of chime in as well too, like how have you helped to bring the best out of each other, especially with this particular book?
Yeah, and we began maybe, is it 4 years ago now? 3 years?
3 years?
3 years?
Yeah.
And we self-published the book together. It was a project that when Heather was still in school, in college, we kind of teamed up to do this project that she was working on, that she had to illustrate, and we self-published that because we're like, oh, we're proud of this when we were done with it, and then because we had each other to encourage each other, we were like, hey, let's like try to do this traditional publishing thing and see where that ends up. And we kind of took the leap to do that. We researched, we tried to figure out how to find an agent, and we were very blessed with our amazing agent, Elena, that we found at Pippin Properties. She's like a superstar, and we don't know why. She like wanted us to be her clients, but that happened, and then we sold our first few books, and it's just been like such a blast to work on projects together, because like you said, like not many people get to follow exactly their passions and dreams, and we've been able to do that, but also to do that together, and we feel very blessed to be able to do that and to have fun. I definitely think the biggest hurdle for me is my confidence, and Heather is amazing at encouraging me to press on with stories or push through that kind of barrier that I put up for myself. So I think that's one of the biggest things when we're working on a book together. She's there right beside me to be like, hey, we got this, you can do it. Like, this is going to be really cute when we finish it out. And hopefully I'm the same encouragement for her, because I have worked with other illustrators since. A lot of my more humorous stories, I feel like, fit really great with Heather's awesome, like whimsical, fun, vibrant art. So when I do want to kind of like push myself into different genres, more like lyrical or poetic type stories, I've gotten to work with some other illustrators, and I don't get that we don't really connect, the other illustrators and I, other than like saying hi on Instagram or just chit chatting. We don't really talk about the work that we're doing together. So it's just amazing to have that with Heather and to like go into a book and be like, hey, let's do this together. Let's like rock this. This make an awesome book that families and kids can share and enjoy together.
And I'm going to share with you something that Jonathan, I hope, puts a smile on your face and in your heart, and Heather, I hope, does the same as well too. As I had alluded to at the beginning of this week's Children's Book Spotlight series, I had the pleasure of meeting you, Jonathan. I want to say it's been 2 years ago almost now at the Tucson Festival of Books. It seems how somehow time has sped up, yet time has slowed down, yet it doesn't exist. Like here I am trying to remember when the Tucson Festival of Books was, and I can't remember if it's been 2 years or 3 years, but you were very vulnerable, Jonathan, in terms of sharing your story. You were very compassionate to other people, and you were very giving of your time. And it's very interesting because, I'm sure that, and I speak with a lot of, self-published and published authors alike in Kid Lit, and they're like, what's the secret? What's the secret to success? What's the secret to passion in your work, etc.? And I feel that when you have an open heart and when you're willing to be of service, this is when all of these magical sorts of experiences and miracles come in. So Heather, I weren't sure if you were at the Tucson Festival of Books when Jonathan was giving his keynote talk as part of the panel discussion or whatnot, but I wanted to be able to share that because Jonathan, I feel that your work, that the integrity of what you're sharing, the joy and the light, I could feel it from reading Santa Baby. And I just wanted to congratulate you on just how far you've come since we last spoke with one another in the process. I did want to get your guys' thoughts on this as well too, because when we think of Christmas classics, right? When we think of our favorite Christmas movies, It's a Wonderful Life or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, or one of my personal favorites, Bill Murray's Christmas classic Scrooge, right? And people have their favorite holiday children's books. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas is one that actually comes to mind. What does it feel like for you now? Has it sunk in the fact that not just for this particular holiday season, but for holiday seasons, Christmases to come, that children will say, this is my favorite holiday book. This is my favorite children's book of all time. Has that feeling kind of sunk in for the both of you yet?
I feel like it never really quite settles in. I mean, I know even with our other books, like we've gotten like emails and letters from people just saying like, this book is my child's favorite book. And it just like, it doesn't feel like it's a real thing. I just feel like that's too crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, a little scary when you're putting something out there, but it's so beautiful when you get those emails or letters or fan art or a parent tags us on Instagram or Twitter and with their child's art of like our llama character or hopefully some Santa Baby art. Like it hits you and you're like, man, like this is really cool. Making books is such a special thing to like put into the world. A lot of like the creator, I think the beginning stages before the book actually goes to the world, you're trying to please adults. You're trying to like live up to like, oh, you got to find an agent, and then you got to have a publisher or an editor at a publisher like your story, and then they have to bring it to their team and they have to like it, and then like the reviews and like everything, but then it finally gets to the place where it's meant to be, which is the hands of a child or the hands of a parent or an adult reading to a child, and then like you're like, oh, this is why I do it. This is why we make books. And something really special for me personally, share this because it is a Christmas book. It was a family tradition with my mom and my family to, right before we open gifts, on Christmas morning, we would get our little breakfast and then we would sit down together as a family and read a Christmas book, a little storybook or a picture book. And that was like kind of setting the stage for our day. We were sharing something together, which is amazing that picture books can do that. You can share with an adult and a child at the same time, and you can both laugh and connect and to the same story, which not a lot of mediums offer that. So that's something that I shared with my family growing up. Even before I could like rip open my gifts, we shared stories together. So the fact that Santa Baby could be something like that to another family or another child is like an amazing thing, and I think we both feel honored that that's a possibility, and we're very grateful that like Kristen Trimmer, our editor at Macmillan, and Macmillan as a whole, like helped us bring this book to life and let that be a possibility, because it is like an honor. It's an amazing thing.
Agreed. And I think this is a perfect segue into my next question, especially with this being the holiday season. It feels like children's books are playing a more pivotal role than beforehand. We've seen over the course of these past 8 months, two of the silver linings during the pandemic, one being children reading more, and two, as the result, families have grown closer together as well too. So I ask the both of you, what do you feel is the importance of storytelling and the importance of children's books during the holidays? Jonathan, starting off with yourself.
Yeah, I think just the way I view it, and I bring this up in a lot of like talks I do, so you probably heard this a million times, I'm sorry. But I think storytelling in its essence is just a very human thing. I think if you think about going back through our history, how before we even had a written language, we told our history and story in pictorial form, whether that was on caves or on papyrus, sitting around the campfires, also saying it in a very oratory form as well. And that's like emerging. A picture book is emerging of those two essential like communication methods that we've had since the beginning of our history. So I think it's beautiful that that's like a very like epic, poetic way to think about a picture book, but I think it is true, and I think anyone who goes into the children's section of a library or a bookstore can see that magic there on the shelves, because there's so many amazing creators making beautiful books, and when you actually get them in the hands of a child, or like I like to bring like an adult or a parent as they read to their child, they're sharing in the form of communication and in love, and you're enjoying that moment together, but you're also enjoying something that was created by someone else. So it connects us with each other, which I think that's like an amazing thing and an important thing. So that's why I'm so happy that they had all these YouTube things with celebrities reading picture books, and like librarians and booksellers, them doing virtual story times. You can see how important books and story are, because like when everything else is shut down, we're still like spending time to share stories with each other and to connect with each other, even in vast distances. So like that's a testament to what books and picture books are. It's pretty sweet too that we be a part of that.
Heather, was there anything that you wanted to add on to what Jonathan added?
Yeah, so just going off what he said, I remember just in my childhood, those moments of reading children's books. I remember sitting down and sharing books and reading with my sisters, and I remember just in elementary school we had this program where the older students would partner up with a kid from a younger grade, and they would read books to each other, and just sharing those moments I just think are just so fulfilling. And story times were always one of my favorite things ever. Like, it's so heartwarming just like sitting and having a story read to you. Those were just like such precious moments that I just remember, and I hope that that is what can happen with this book, because I feel like it is like a lovely heartwarming tale, and just to think that story times with this book will be happening this season is really special.
Well, I'm gonna give you guys an early Christmas gift, and we're still not done, by the way. This week's Trolley Stop is still continuing. For those of you who are just joining us right now, or still joining us, episode number 95 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. Our featured guests this week, award-winning author and award-winning illustrator, husband and wife Jonathan Stutzman and Heather Fox. We are sharing the brand new release of Santa Baby. It is now available courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Macmillan Kids. Again, you can purchase your copy on Amazon. Feel free to leave a 5-star review if you feel guided to support Jonathan and Heather. Jonathan, I'm not sure if I had shared this with you, but one of the reasons why I was called out to San Diego, the work that I do as a publicist for children's authors bridges to my long-term plans of opening up a children's hospice for terminally ill children in La Jolla, California, here in San Diego. And I will be, one of the things that I took a page out of this children's hospice or children's hospital, I should say, that I visited in Tucson, interestingly enough, during the Tucson Festival of Books. And there was this tree that they have that was a library. Like, you could go inside the tree and you see the different books and you can sit down and you can read. So with this being said, I do envision whenever the children's hospice comes to be, there's going to be a copy of Santa Baby. So I'm going to make sure that I keep this right now so that, children, if they're enjoying their final holiday season together with their family, they've got, a treasured memory and moment that they can take with. So I might get a little misty, and I realize I don't have Kleenex, but I'm an emotional guy, so to speak. But that's okay. So that is my early Christmas gift to you guys in the process. I feel that, and this touches upon what I had mentioned a little bit earlier in our time together here, that there are people right now that are feeling down. They're feeling out, and they don't necessarily know where to turn. People are experiencing, emotional problems, mental health challenges. Like, even the strongest of people are feeling, maybe to a certain extent, broken. Jonathan, starting off with yourself, and then Heather, feel free to reply as well too. How do you feel that amid the current climate that we can embrace the joy and the wonder of the holiday season?
Every year there's struggles that all of us go through, and depending on the person, there's a lot of darkness that's in this world. So definitely this year has been a struggle for a lot of people, just because with everything going on with COVID and quarantine and our social climate. So one of our goals, just making books, and we try to think about this while we're creating, is to bring some kind of joy into the world for children. As creators, especially for picture books for children, you're trying to bring some kind of hope or joy into a child's life. So for us, we've had a couple of books come out this year. A lot of them were pretty silly books, whether that's Llama Unleashes the Alpacalypse, which is about a llama who accidentally unleashes the apocalypse, which has a lot of destruction in there, but hopefully a lot of laughs too, and everything comes out okay in the end. So we want to have that hope in there, even if there's a lot of drama in the book. Or Butts Are Everywhere, which is a very silly but celebratory book about ourselves as humans and our bodies. And Santa Baby, it's like we talked about, it's about Santa who's feeling really down and not like himself this year, and he's kind of like losing that magic, but then he reconnects in the end. I'm very much an optimist, even though I'm not always an optimist about myself and my own writings. But I like thinking of the world, that there's good and beauty and there's hope out there. So like when I write a story, that's what I want to convey in the words, especially for children, because there's enough darkness in the world and enough negativity that we gotta put a lot of good into it if we can. So I think that's our laughter too, because like what is better than sharing laughter with each other? Like that's one of those amazing healing moments that we can have with our fellow humans. So hopefully that's what our book does, create some laughter and hope in the homes that it goes to. So that's what we try to do. We're never sure if we really succeed, but That's what our goal is and our intention.
And Heather, your thoughts?
Oh, I feel like Jonathan pretty much said it all. Yeah, I mean, our books, it's really funny actually to see just the difference in the books that we have together versus the books that Jonathan has with other illustrators. Like, our books definitely have a lot of humor in them, and I think it's really important to put humor out into the world so that children can, share, laugh with each other, with their parents, grandparents, teachers. It's something that we always try to do, and just talk about the hope. Even our books with Llama, things don't always go the way that we plan, but at the end of the day, everything is it's gonna be all right, and you just gotta smile through it. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah, and it just like during this time, I kind of addressed this before, but one of the ways that I think that we can find that hope is in that relationship with each other, and I think that's again what picture books, they offer that opportunity that we can share something together, and it opens the door into not just the creators' lives but other the characters' lives. That's one of the awesome things about story and books in general is we're thinking outside of ourselves, and we're seeing other people's stories, and I think that gives us hope too. Once we see the world outside of ourselves and we see that everyone is struggling with these problems, and that we can do something about it, we can love each other, we can bring some beauty into the world. And that's very important, I think, and it's been important for me in my life. So that's what I'm going off of.
And that's very much a gift that we can give to other people. That's a gift that we can give to ourselves, just like Santa Baby received that beautiful gift from a little girl in your book. It's a way of how everything comes full circle, always here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. As we begin to wind down our time here together tonight, one of the things that I always love asking our guests here on the program is, especially just on the flip side, when you're creating something, there can be some challenges and difficulties along the way, but I believe that everything in life has something to share with us. It always has a message. It teaches us. Now, I feel like, depending upon where we're at on our path, sometimes, when we think of if something has to teach us something, we automatically think it has to be one of the life lessons where you're clubbed over the head with a baseball bat or a tire iron. And I don't think that needs to happen as of right now. You can experience, magic and joy and love and abundance and so many other related things, specifically with Santa Baby. And Heather, I'll start off with yourself. What did Santa Baby, the process of illustrating the book, working with Jonathan to bring this to life, and now sharing it with children, parents, and families across the country and around the world, what has Santa Baby taught you about yourself, and what has it taught you about life?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think for me, what it taught me is that it is good to play. So with this book, I, tried a whole bunch of different techniques, and I tried to capture a different mood that I wasn't really used to when I normally illustrate books. So that process of creating and, just figuring things out, I think was something that was really important for this book. So just sort of rediscovering that, it's okay to branch off, the norm and diverge from what you normally do. So that is something that I learned throughout this process. Even I think the story itself, is just really inspiring during this time. Just taking to heart that message, because I do feel a little bit tired right now. So it's just like, you just have to recapture those feelings. And I think for me, just keeping reading and drawing is something that I've been revisiting, just to sort of spark that sort of creativity that I have in my life. So it's good to be like Santa and try and rediscover those things and rejuvenate yourself.
And Jonathan, what has Santa Baby, the process of writing the book, working with Heather, bringing this to life, now sharing it, what has it taught you about yourself? And what has it taught you about life?
Well, I think I discovered it a little bit while I was writing, but maybe more so now, and maybe I need to go back and read my own book to like get that message myself. But a lot of times I do feel like Santa a little bit because I'm always kind of overthinking things, all the things I have to do, and I want everything to be perfect. I want that perfect Christmas. I want to sort of thing. Every time I approach a lot of things in my life, but when I'm writing, and I think as I was writing that and carrying even over into this year, which is worsened a little bit with just everything that was going on, was I felt very exhausted with what I normally found joy in, which was creating. And I would sit down and try to write, and I didn't feel the words coming as fast and magically as they had before, and I was feeling very frustrated. And I think creativity throughout the year was more of a struggle than a joy for me. And I need to recapture that kind of like going, throwing away all the business aspects of having it be a career and kind of finding that renewed joy and hope in like, hey, I just want to tell a story. I just want to like have fun. And like Heather said, play. I think playing is such an important aspect of creativity. And that's like the core human aspect of like why we create is play and communication. I think I need to get back to that. And I think that's something I'm still learning right now. I'm definitely struggling with it. So maybe once we're off of this, I'll read my book again and try to slap myself in the face and be like, hey, here, learn from Santa.
Well, it's so interesting how things are, the segues here are just like, they're totally not scripted, but yet in a certain way, there's some sort of a divine synchronicity or flow. One of my favorite segments here on the Children's Book Spotlight series is a little segment that I like to call 3 Wishes. Now, if you're wondering, Jonathan, do you happen to have a genie lamp in your office? The answer is yes, I do. For this, I feel that all of us, in some way, shape, or form, we help to bring one another's heartfelt wishes and desires to life. There's times where, you'll pray, you'll put out an intention, send me the right illustrator, or send me the right plumber, or I'm going through this health challenge, can you send me the right practitioner to come in? And it's just like that. It seems that there's always answers to your prayers. So Jonathan, Heather, you are each being given 3 wishes tonight and this week for all that you've given to one another, to children, to parents, to families across the country and around the world. So each of you, I don't think I've given 6 wishes in the course of one Children's Book Spotlight series interview in the 2+ years that I've done this program, but this is great. So it's not like 3 wishes, it's technically 3 wishes for the both of you. So Jonathan, starting off with yourself, I always like to say, the old expression, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Now it seems the way the universe is like, if you put out an intention, there's a pretty good chance it'll come to fruition. So kind of be mindful of what the wishes are, so to speak. But they can be for yourself, they can be for you and Heather, they can be for your family, they can be for children around the world, they can be for the planet. Starting with you, what would your 3 wishes be, Jonathan?
Ooh, that's 3 wishes.
Tough.
That is tough. Yeah, I think before I actually do the wishes, I should spend some time and think of the logistics of everything. Because you never know with the genies. They're tricky. I've watched Disney's Aladdin multiple times, so I know how tricky they can be.
I think that the only thing is that you can't ask for more wishes, or you can't force someone to fall in love with you. It has to happen. I think those are like the only disqualifiers from what I remember from watching Aladdin.
True. Well, I guess just going off the cuff here, definitely that we would just overall socially just find healing in our nation, because there's so much pain right now, and division, and finding that that feeling would just, I think, is so important for us as a country, because like the macro level will go down to the micro level, and with our relationships with each other and our neighbors. So it's so important that we continue to work on that, and everything is so divisive right now. So I think that's really important, because I truly do love people, and I love the people in our country. I mean, I love people throughout the entire world too. So the old wish at the fashion, not the fashion shows. What's that? Miss America. I was like, I wish for world peace. That's definitely a wish. That's what I'm getting at there, I think.
That's your one.
That's my one
wish.
wish. Okay. Yeah. Miss Pennsylvania wishes for world peace. So my other two wishes. This is really hard, Jonathan. Thank you for.
How about you do a wish and then I do a wish?
I'm really hungry right now, so please wish some good things before I wish for a churro or something.
Okay, I have two ready. If you want to mentally think about.
Okay, yeah.
Some more. Okay.
Go for it.
My first wish is that children and parents and everyone will be able to discover and find their purpose in life. So I feel like so many people just get lost in that they don't know where they quite fit in and what they want to do. So I feel very blessed that I am doing what I always sort of dreamed of doing, and I just want everybody to have that experience because it is really special. And my second wish is that we all get to see each other at Book Festival next year.
Yes. I'm putting this out, and you know what? We will laugh hysterically if this happens. I'm putting out an intention that we'll have a follow-up conversation, not in the virtual variety, but in the in-person variety at the Tucson Festival of Books. Because I've been putting out. I remember having a conversation with John Parra, who's a fellow award-winning illustrator as well too. And because he was supposed to have been at the Tucson Festival of Books. And I'm like, there's going to come a time and a place, and why not put it in Tucson? It's like this central gathering of not only everyone in the kidlit community, but, where people will not be afraid of congregating. I mean, when you think about it, the Tucson Festival of Books, Jonathan, I think it is like over 100,000 people that come in over the span of a couple of days. And when you think of 1,000 people together in one setting, let alone 100,000, it's kind of like, what did that used to look like? What did this used to feel like? But I always like to feel that as fast as this came in, it's going to be coming out in the process. So the great thing I should also mention about the three wishes is that you don't have to use them all now. You don't have to share them. You can kind of shelve a couple of the wishes. And if there's something you want to wish for, you just remember, all right, well, Jonathan said I have 3 wishes. I've only used 1, right? So I can kind of save the others for safekeeping, so to speak. I did also want to mention, because 2021 is going to be a big year for you guys in the process. And we always love talking, like just when you watch a movie and you see coming attractions. It's interesting because I actually went to the movies for the first time this year. Just a couple of days ago, I saw the 25th anniversary of Apollo 13, of course, with Tom Hanks and Ron Howard. So it's interesting how the first movie that I see in a movie theater in 2020 is a movie from 1995. But when it comes to the work that you guys are going to be creating in 2021, Jonathan, I know that you have a brand new release coming out through our friends and neighbors at Harper Kids, Bear is a Bear. And then you are having a graphic novel series together, Fritz and Cleo, that the both of you are working on in the process. Jonathan, you also have another book coming out, The Mouse That Carried a House on His Back, through our friends and neighbors at Candlewick Press. Could you touch upon, give a little sneak preview of what our listeners and viewers can expect with all 3, and especially what's it going to be like to create again? I mean, obviously, you probably have a lot of this already finished, the work with yourself and Heather, the graphic novel series that's beginning to come out next year. What's that experience going to be like to continue to create with your wife next year, where it seems like all of this will be like a distant memory, so to speak, 2020?
Do you want to go first?
Talk about some.
Our graphic novel plus your other books that you have with Tom Engelberg.
Yeah, so next year is a pretty interesting year because together we don't have any children's books coming out, but we have Fitz and Cleo, which is our graphic novel, and that was that has been a really fun project, especially I think for you, because you were always really interested in comics, and I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was a kid, so that was sort of like a meshing of two dreams coming together, it's really fun. I don't know if you want to talk about more of that.
Yeah, so I loved comics growing up. Peanuts, Garfield, The Far Side, Calvin and Hobbes. Like, if I move my body a little bit, you might see my shelf full of them, and they're not even all of the ones I have. And they're all like the ones that I continue to like take care of and love ever since I was a child. So they're all worn and ripped up. So it's a dream of mine to like have like a kind of a comic type series. So Fitz and Cleo, we had the first of 2 books that comes out next year. It comes out in, I think, the spring or the winter, early beginning of the year. So that'll be really fun. And then I have 2 books. I have a new Tiny T-Rex book with Jay Fleck. That's a Valentine's Tiny T-Rex book that comes out. And then you mentioned Bear is a Bear, which is with Dan Santat. And then The Mouse Who Carried a House on his back with Isabel Arsenault. So like 3 amazing illustrators there, not to mention the amazing illustrator that I work with all the time, Heather. So like I feel very lucky to have all these fun books out with like such talented creators. With Bear is a Bear, the book with Dan, that's kind of about a little girl and her bear friend, and they go on adventures together, and it kind of is the little girl's life from when she was little to when she's older, and her relationship with her bear friend. And then The Mouse Who Carried a House on His Back is it's kind of a parable. It's about a little mouse who literally has his house on his back, and he meets different travelers along the way, and he opens up his house to them. So it's about kindness and compassion to those who are weary and traveling. So that kind of it's an exciting book because both the Bear is a Bear and the Mouse book, they're very different from anything that I'm doing with Heather or even the Tiny T-Rex books. So it'll be really fun to share those with the world. But Heather, you're doing some books with Tom Engelberger. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I also have 3 books in a series coming out. The first one, which is a spin-off of the Inspector Flytrap series written by Tom Engelberger. So that has been really fun because that is neither a children's book nor a graphic novel, but it is a chapter book, which is something that was really fun to branch out in and illustrate one of those. So I have the first one coming out, I think, in the spring next year, and then I think the second book coming out sometime later.
It's amazing. Well, 2021 is going to be a banner and a big year for the both of you. Before we conclude our time together tonight, a good portion of those who tune into the Children's Book Spotlight series are either current or aspiring children's authors and illustrators and or entrepreneurs who resonate, who love great children's books, but maybe just started their own business or who are thinking about starting their own business. For those authors and illustrators who are wanting to break into the industry or to take that next level, it feels like many creatives, many entrepreneurs are taking their next steps, the most important steps on their path that they chose to walk, so to speak. So what would be some words of encouragement, advice, support, what comes to mind that you want to be able to share with especially the children's authors and illustrators who are still doing their craft and those who are stepping into the world of kid-led? Jonathan, starting with yourself.
I guess just from, if you've, for anyone who's listening, who's listened to this whole thing, you've kind of heard me mention that I struggle with just that fear of failure, and to get over that for yourselves by pushing through and just finishing whatever you're working on. I think finishing is so important because that's how, one, you improve as a creator. If you just always have just good ideas and you never finish them, those ideas can never have a life. You're already like failing, or you're already like pretty much not allowing yourself to succeed or let those become real. So definitely try to finish whatever you set out to do. And then another thing would be to have fun and to just enjoy what you're doing, because I think if you work really hard and you like study whatever it is you're doing and you finish work and you have fun doing it, you put your passion and yourself into whatever creative endeavor you're doing, like it's going to find a way to go into the world and be whatever it needs to be, whether that's a published book or self-published book or art that's hanging on the wall of a museum. I don't know what exactly all the creative people that are watching this, where your passion lies, but if you work really hard at it, you study and try to better yourself, you finish, and then you have fun doing it the whole time, like I think it will find its way to where it needs to be. Because I think that was pretty much our process. I know not everything works the same for everyone, but I think those are the most important things, to have fun creating because we're creative people, but then also to finish.
I agree.
I'll go off you. I feel like we were both very lucky to have each other during that process when we were trying to get into the traditional publishing. So we were sort of each other's encouragement just to push ourselves. I was like, come on, Jonathan, your manuscript is good. Just send it. It's okay. So I think it's really important for people who are wanting to branch into publishing to just get surrounded by people who will encourage you. Either like find a group of people who you can get feedback for your manuscript, but just surround yourself with that encouragement, and you just gotta do it.
Yeah, because I think it's definitely important to like do your research, to study the craft of writing or illustrating, to try to improve yourself. But there's a time where you gotta let go, and you just gotta let it go out. You can't just, if you work on something your entire life, wanting it to be a book or something, and you never let it go, then it will never become something. And
that's a big moment.
Yeah.
Letting it go. I mean, I like vividly like remember where we were when we like hit send on that manuscript, querying to different agents. So yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah, I probably would have kept working on that manuscript for like 5 more years, but we were in the library using the free Wi-Fi, and Heather was like, "It was for Butts Are Everywhere," which just came out. It's our like latest release, and Heather was like, "Jonathan, just send it. Just hit the email and send it. It's good." And I was like, did not want to do that because I thought it was terrible. Yeah. So definitely find, like Heather said, find some people in your life to encourage you, because we all need that encouragement.
So true. That's so true. This has been a fantastic interview tonight, and I think the perfect way to actually put a bow on this week's edition of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. I know that many children's authors and children's illustrators all across the country and all around the world have a little bit of a sad heart over these past several days. Someone who is an extended part of the Empowered Publicity family. She's an amazing best-selling author, illustrator, and animator, Rebecca Yee Peters. She lost one of her 2 dogs, Pookie, at the age of 16 years old. So we actually want to dedicate this week's edition of the Children's Book Spotlight Series to little Pookie. And we have the link below. You can purchase your copy of The Adventures of Pookie, Home is Where the Heart Is. You know, we talk about the holiday season, and pets bring so much joy and healing into our lives. as well too. So yes, Pookie is, and I still refer to dogs in the present tense. I know I've had several throughout my life, and feels like they're all here, even though they're not here in the physical. But she's an old lab mix. But the great thing is that Pookie has a companion named Thor. Thor is still with us here, so just do your parts. If you're prayer warriors, or you're just like putting out good vibes, feel free to be able to send those loving intentions out to Rebecca and to her family. And yes, if you want to be able to have Pookie be with you in your heart wherever you go, again, the release of The Adventures of Pookie, we've got the links in the comments below. And I know that especially from a lot of our listeners and viewers over the course of these past several weeks, many of you are remaining optimistic. You still believe that there's a lot of hope that's in the air over the course of these past several weeks. And that's we're putting the intention that continues out into the rest of the holiday season. And one of our favorite neighbors that is here at Empowered Publicity, an amazing children's author by the name of Keely Conner-Lanning, has written an adorable children's book that's simply called Hope. And sometimes, as adults, we tend to think that, the world is a difficult place or a stressful place. We have to do all these different things in order for things to be able to work out. But if you're feeling challenged, or your little one is feeling challenged with feeling strong, brave, if you're feeling challenged with even feeling loved and feeling secure, wondering, can things turn around for me, right? If this is something that you're struggling with, or something that your little one is struggling with, this is a beautiful story of optimism. It promotes encouragement, the fact that good things can do and always happen in some way, shape, or form. So we've got the official website for Keely Conner-Lanning in the comments below as well, and you can support Keely by purchasing your copy of Hope. And if anything, as I always like to say, when you take the time to support the work of children's authors, you're also supporting the children. You're supporting parents as well too. You're helping to bring families closer together as well too. It's one of the great things about Jonathan and Heather. They're bringing so many families together here for the forthcoming holiday season. And we're looking forward to spending more time with all of you leading into, well, of course, we're continuing our countdown to Christmas, but in just a few short weeks' time, episode number 100 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. And if you are a fan of children's books, we've got a very special announcement to be able to share with you. Not tonight, not this week, but stay connected with us here at Empowered Publicity, our official website, empoweredpublicity.com. You can stay connected with us via any of our social media platforms at Empowered Publicity on Facebook and Instagram, and at empowered_PR on Twitter. We've got the links below in the comments as well, in addition to Jonathan and Heather's official websites and social media platforms as well. And then lastly, if you are a children's author, if you are a children's illustrator, and you would like to share your inspiring story in the release of your brand new children's book, just like Jonathan and Heather did this week here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. And if you would like to appear as a featured guest on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, you can connect with us via our official website at empoweredpublicity.com. If you would like for us to share your brand new children's book as part of the all new season of the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan, which kicks off this forthcoming Thursday, November the 12th. We're super excited about that. You know where to find us. If you're also a children's author or children's illustrator and would like to see how we can be of service to you, how we can help you in your next steps, if you're interested in facilitating your own virtual media tour, if you would like more information on our media coaching and mentoring program, if you would like to facilitate a book media tour in a city of your choosing, you can connect with us at empoweredpublicity.com and schedule your own courtesy discovery call in the process. So one final time, again, such an adorable book. It's one of my favorites already right now. It is an instant Christmas classic. I'm not even sure if Kirkus or Kirkus, I forget if it's Kirkus or Kirkus, depending on potato, tomato, but this truly is an instant Christmas classic, Santa Baby. It is now available courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Macmillan Kids, doing such a wonderful job. And of course, let us not forget our two favorite series of numbers here at Empowered Publicity. One of our favorite neighbors, Mr. Rogers, he always reminded us of 143. Somehow he weighed 143 pounds for his entire life, but that was his way of saying, I love you. Let us not forget our favorite fellow numbers besides 143, which is 243. And that means that we love you. We are reminding all of you that you are perfect, you are whole, you are healthy, you are complete, just the way that you are. just the way that you are. Jonathan, Heather, like you, just the way that you are. And take the time as well, remember, to help remind yourself, if you're experiencing some sort of a challenge, to remember those who helped love you into being. Mr. Rogers, when he received his Daytime Emmy Award, his Lifetime Achievement Award, he kept the time. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Take the time this week to remember all of those who helped love you into being. Santa Claus all loves you into being, and Santa Baby will do the exact same thing as well. So again, the trolley stop is here, and literally I do have to mention as we close down our time, it's very interesting, Jonathan, Heather, because I actually live right next to the San Diego trolley. So when I say that the trolley stop is coming to a close, it's no joke. It's literally like outside my front door almost. We want to thank all of you who took the time to join us here this evening and this week. If this message has inspired you, if it's brought healing into your heart, if you feel that it needs to be shared with someone in need, if you feel that the message of reconnecting to the heart of the holiday season and the message of Santa Baby, if you would like to share this with someone in need, we encourage you to share episode number 95 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, your favorite social media platforms of choice. And thank you for what it is that you are doing for our little ones. Thank you for helping to walk home the children of the world. So we will see all of you once again next Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, for episode number 96 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. For Jonathan Stutzman and Heather Fox, award-winning author and illustrator, and for myself, Jonathan Masiulionis, thank you so much again for spending some time with us here for another magical trolley stop here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Take care.